I realized that not just for that year, but for 4 years in a row, I was at the highest levels on this stress test. And, I feel like even recently I reflected, for those of y'all who follow Gravetop Music and have looked at some of the music that I've been putting out. One of those albums, A War Inside, was me just going through my old journal entries from a couple years ago. And while they were super deep and emotionally raw, one thing that really struck a chord with me is realizing how burnt out I was and still going. I mean, it was so clear feeling whole now in a sense and looking back at this person to where there was so much left unresolved and just this attitude and heart of just pushing through this emotional stress and this heartache. And when I think back to this time period, it makes me think about where I feel like the it started to change for me was actually back in 2020, where of course everyone knows that was a crazy time period. But at the one job I held specifically at the time when we first started doing like virtual workspaces, and this workplace had everybody take this stress test. I don't remember the name of the stress test, but I have mentioned it on here before. And I was really curious to where I did my stress test for that year. Out of curiosity, I wanted to look at the last several years. And when I took this comprehensive stress test where it really just gauged each of your experiences with like a reasonable score, from anything as like simple as getting a parking ticket to having a birth or a death of a loved one. And it was this system to where it could classify these ideas of stress and could position you to where if you're, say, between 200 and 400, then you might have like a low to mid amount of stress to where you're like 20%, you have a 20% chance of having a mental crisis or heart issues. And then it goes up from there. Well, I realized that not just for that year, but for 4 years in a row, I was at the highest levels on this stress test. It was placing me in this category of 80% chance or higher of having a mental breakdown or cardiac arrest issues. Like it's projecting that I might have a heart attack from the amount of stress that I was having.